Welcome back to the 9th Gym program, and today we are talking about Tapu Lele in guide form. So let's talk about the overview of Tapu Lele and why it's even useful in this format. And then I have a build prepared and speed tiers and damage calcs as usual, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, Tapu Lele, a pretty cool Pokemon in the format, to be honest. It kind of completely fell off, earlier in the format in 2020 with Indeedee's hidden ability being Psychic Surge and also having access to Expanding Force, making Psyspam kind of a monster in the format. Well, Tapu Lele is kind of back now. We don't need this Expanding Force as much. Of course, Indeedee female has more usage in terms of usage stats alone, but Tapu Lele is a sleeper pick on these kind of psychic, Psyspam teams, so it's pretty good. Tapu Lele is much more glass cannon than Indeedee. Indeedee can definitely be built a little bit, more bulky, especially with like psychic seed builds and stuff going around, but Tapu Lele's meager bulk is kind of something that holds it back as far as that goes. But if you really only lean into speed and special attack, this Pokemon is still a monster and definitely better offensively typically, even though it doesn't have Expanding Force. But with a lot of switching of terrain in the format, it's a very terrain heavy format. You're not always going to have the Expanding Force, set up with the Surge anyway, so might as well go for a little bit better, offensive pressure here with Fairy-type moves and stuff with Tapu Lele. Makes sense. It's really good with the choice items, choice specs, or choice scarf. The build today pertaining more to the, the choice scarf variant, but both are, pretty good. Let's talk about this Pokemon so a little more. So Psychic Fairy is pretty normal for this. It's not bad, 1 immunity being Dragon, 2 resistances, and 3 weaknesses. Usually your weaknesses, more than resistances is bad, but since we do have an immunity here, it's not that bad. And the Pokemon is super glass cannony, so the 3 weaknesses there aren't even like the end of the world, right? Poison, Ghost, Steel, probably things are killing this guy anyway if they're physical and doing a lot of damage. But we are capable of living some super effective attacks, especially since its special defense is at 115, which isn't too bad. Not bad. Anyway, let's talk about the reason why this Pokemon is actually really good, and that's, its ability Psychic Surge, setting up the terrain for 5 turns when it enters battle, which is very, very strong in this format, especially since Psychic Surge gets rid of those priority moves, which, Fake Out is a big deal in the format. And when you put this Pokemon next to the Shadow Rider, getting rid of, the scariness of the priority moves, Shadow Sneak and Sucker Punch, is very, very good, making that Pokemon not just a dead horse, you know what I mean? So that's very good. The Psychic Surge is very, very strong for that. It also makes all of your attacks super, super strong. All of your psychic attacks, that is. So overall, very solid. As far as the stats go, it's pretty good in where it is good. Special attack at 130 is really, really strong. Special defense at 115 is very good as well, and speed 95 isn't bad. And then you have your HP, attack, and defense all being not very good, but that's okay. We don't lean into our HP and defense. It's not a bulky Pokemon. We're not going for a bulky spread. We're going for a choice item and then kill everything. You wouldn't look at this thing and be like, oh, this guy's gonna kill me. It's a scary Pokemon. It actually is. Okay, so that's it for the overview. Let's go ahead and talk about the moveset itself. So, as far as the moveset goes, I did go for a choice scarf build, of course using the ability Psychic Surge. And as far as the moves go, Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Psychic, and Shadow Ball. Since it's a choice scarf, I don't really want to go for those protect moves or really anything that I'm not going to be wanting to use over and over. Of course, it's choice scarf, so you're gonna have to reset every now and again unless you are okay with using Moonblast the entire game. As the nature of the choice items locking you into your choice while giving you that 1.5 times speed boost, which is very, very good. This Pokemon at its max speed with choice scarf gets you to 241, which is really, really fast. And of course, we'll talk about this a little bit more here in speed tiers in a moment, but just know it's pretty fast. As far as the EV spread goes, it's very basic and boring, I know. 252 into speed and special attack, and then leftover 4 into HP, and Timid Nature, just making it as fast as possible while taking away from that attack that does not matter at all for this Pokemon, because we only have special attacking moves. Of course, I think, a lot of the time with Choice Scarf, you kind of just lean into those moves, or into those EVs, the 252 special attack and speed, but it still is ugly. Actually, to be honest, it looks the most clean, but it's, not very clean. Anyway, all I'm saying here is it's pretty basic and boring, but it's pretty standard to be basic and boring for a Choice Scarf build like this. It's a glass cannon. What are you going to do? Give it like 5 HP? you know? No, you're not gonna. And also that was a bad example because you would never put 5 EV points in anything. Regardless, all I'm saying is we're going to be leaning into the special attack and speed, and it kind of is a no-brainer to me. It just makes sense. Anyway, it is not a super customizable Pokemon. However, you do have a couple of customization options along the way. So, of course, with your item, you can change it out. If you want to go for the choice specs for a little bit more damage while, you know, sacrificing that speed, be my guest. But I really, really like Choice Scarf in this format. On Tapu Lele, I think it's optimal. You also have Focus Sash, which is a good option for it as well. Since it's a glass cannon, you will be able to live an attack. But if you go with Choice Scarf, you're going to be able to go first probably anyway, which, you know, you only having one attack, it's probably fine. So Tapu Lele, I like Choice Scarf. And then as far as the moves go, you do have a couple of options here. So we do have Psyshock, of course. So if your team is primarily super, you know, primarily special, you do have Psyshock as an option that can attack the you know, target's defense instead of special defense. So that can be good as a little mix up there, here and there. If you want to go for that over Psychic, you can. Definitely a good option. But I like Psychic most of the time on Tapu Lele. I like knowing what we're doing, and not having to play weirdly. But, you know, sometimes it's just a good option. It's a good option, okay? We'll say that. And then other options is Ally Switch and Taunt, and of course Protect. If you do go for like Focus Sash or even like a Psychic Seed or something instead of a choice item, Protect is not a bad option. Taunt is good for getting rid of those Trick Room things because, you know, Trick Room, you don't really want to be in Trick Room with a Shadow Calyrex team, and with Lele on the field, you don't really want that. So Taunt's not bad for that. And Ally Switch is Ally Switch. The most annoying move, but it is a good move nonetheless. So we will, of course, say it's an option. Anyway, that is about it for the build itself for Tapu Lele. Let's talk about the synergetic Pokemon here down in the bottom right. And as you notice here, it is the only synergetic Pokemon. It's because 9 out of 10 Tapu Lele teams, it's going to be on a Shadow Rider team, and that's why you're bringing it for the most part. So, of course, let's talk about Shadow Rider's shortcomings, which are, of course, Sucker Punch and Shadow Sneak, and you also do have, like, on some of the teams, Fake Out being annoying. So just having that Psychic Surge in the back is very, very good for that. Getting rid of those priority moves that can just take the Pokemon out, right? It's not a bad option to have that. It's pretty good. It also sets up the Psychic Surge for the Expanding Force that could be on your Shadow Rider Calyrex, so that's just another option. Or another reason why Tapu Lele is good on the team. Now, of course, most of the time you'll see, you know, an Indeedee female taking this spot, as it also has redirection and a little bit of bulk, which is something you can offer to a, you know, a hyper offense team. But if you want to lean more into the hyper offense, you know, thing for it, which is a lot of Shadow Rider, Calyrex, Tapu Lele, and Mian Xiao teams, they are super, super hyper aggressive, and also being, you know, a hyper offense mon, Tapu Lele, it just makes sense to put that on a on the team, you know, instead of just like a bulky Indeedee. It makes sense. So that's why it's there. It's a good option, and yeah, it makes sense. Anyway, that's all we have here. So let's talk about speed tiers. So speed tiers, honestly, there's not much to say. So being at 241, it is on the same speed tier as Indeedee male. At Choice Scarf and max speed, which is pretty interesting because, you know, this is, once again, that is also an like an offensive measure for that, but it also does offer some other things like Imprison Trick Room and stuff like that. So you do have Indeedee male being another option, and Tapu Lele is on the same speed tier, so they do kind of similar things, but Tapu Lele is more offensive, and it does have the fairy typing, which is, you know, something else to offer. But yeah, 241, pretty good. We're outspeeding a lot of stuff. Lando T at Scarf and max speed, something that's very, very good to outspeed as a Scarf user, because that is one of the more used Scarf users in the format. Also, I didn't blank out any of the other stuff, but at that 228 speed tier, we have Volcarona at Quiver Dance, so that's actually a really important one to know that you're outspeeding as well. We are outspeeding that, which is good. Makes sense, right? Although that is neutral, so of course if it's timid, it is going to be outspeeding, which is unfortunate. You know, it's a base 100 and we're base 95. What do you want from me? But I just thought that could come up. You know, if you're planning on Quiver Dancing, you might not need the nature. I don't know. I haven't played too much Volcarona this format. I don't know the Quiver Dance exact spreads, but I feel like sometimes they won't have max speed. Just a hunch. Anyway, next we have Pheromosa. Of course, being that max speed Pokemon, that was something you had to beat before. It's a lot less relevant now, but it is still a really, you know, good speed tier to know that you're beating is 223 Pheromosa. It just makes sense. Anyway, outspeeding the Tapu Lele is Urshifu at Scarf. This is not very common, but it is something that is happening in the format, so it's really notable to know that. And then also the Entei at Choice Scarf and Ninetales. Those, once again, not very common Pokemon, but it's good to know that they are able to outspeed the Lele if you can call the read on the Choice Scarf. Or if an Entei is just randomly outspeeding your Tapu Lele, you know it's Scarfed, which, you know, is good to know. Shiftry and Venusaur, really just Venusaur there. Nobody's using Shiftry, but you know, outspeeding those Pokemon is not going to happen. If it's max speed, its Chlorophyll is going to be outspeeding the Tapu Lele, which is unfortunate. And then, of course, Regieleki at max speed is going to be outspeeding. That's a no-brainer, obviously. And then, of course, everything down here is slower than 223, which is the Pheromosa, everything down there, 223 and lower. Tapu Lele is outspeeding with Choice Scarf, so that's pretty good. Anyway, that's it for the, you know, speed tiers. Let's talk about damage calcs real quick. So, the first two are going to be offensive. The last four are going to be, I'm backwards. The last four are going to be offensive. The first two are going to be defensive. So, first off, Zacian Crown, Behemoth Blade. Don't expect to live this. It's doing 180 to 213, and that's without the +1 from Intrepid Sword. It's a bad matchup. Don't put this thing in front of this Zacian. It's going to kill you, and it's really bad. You don't really have any option of doing good damage to it with this Pokemon. You know, you have Shadow Ball, which is hitting neutral and not doing much, but it's not a good matchup. You don't want that. Next is another bad matchup that you don't want to be in front of is the Landorus the Landorus Incarnate Normal Landorus. Life Orb, Sheer Force Landorus, Sludge Bomb is doing 97.9 to 115, which is a roll. I'll give you that. You do have a 12.5% chance of surviving, but you also have an 87.5% chance to get O-Code. I don't want that. I do not want to get O-Code as a Tapu Lele user, so don't put it in front of a Lando. It's not a good matchup. It's not something you want to see. Lando is pretty rough, but you do want to make sure you have it out for it on the Shadow Rider Calyrex team featuring Tapu Lele. You'll want to have some kind of answers. I mean, it's not like a hard counter or anything. It just deals with this Pokemon really annoyingly, and it does a lot of damage in general, and setting up a sub and getting behind that, it's hard to deal with. So just, like, you know, be careful around that thing is all I'm saying. Anyway, next we have some offensive calcs, which are pretty good. Tapu Lele Psychic in terrain, of course. This is against the most used on Pikalytics currently. Spread 244 HP and 76 defense, or 76 special defense. It has a lot of physical defense bulk on that spread. So on this spread, we are taking a 99 to 118%, which is a 93% chance to OHKO, which is very good. But, of course, like I said, you know, there is a lot of room for an Amoonguss to EV out of that. So be careful. No, you're not going to always just take it out, but you're doing a lot of damage, and if you're next to a Shadow Rider Calyrex, you're just killing it. It's not having a bad time. Next we have Shadow Ball from Tapu Lele into a Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is hitting 104 to 125%, which is guaranteed OHKO, and not many Shadow Riders are putting on HP investments or any kind of defensive investment in general. So no, you're pretty safe to be attacking into this thing a lot of the time, and if you can catch the read on them switching, that's game, buddy. You're not gonna be able to lose that game if you call the switch in on Shadow Rider and you Shadow Ball it into Oblivion. You're winning that game probably. Next we have Tapu Lele Psychic into an Urshifu Rapid Strike. Rapid Strike is used a lot more currently according to Pikalytics, so I went for that calc. But know that if it is the other one, you know, the dark one, don't use a Psychic move. Just don't do it. Don't do it. But we are destroying this Urshifu Rapid Strike in the Psychic terrain. With Psychic, 171 to 202, there's no chance of that thing surviving unless it has a Focus Sash, which is probable, to say the least. Anyway, next Tapu Lele Moonblast finally is a non-Psychic move, right? Into the Yveltal, 236 HP, 12 special defense. This is currently the most used on Pikalytics spread. 70 to 83, which is guaranteed to hit KO, with a lot of room for them to EV away from, but they're not going to be able to EV out of a guaranteed 2-hit KO from Moonblast. So, pretty positive matchup against the Yveltal, I'd say. You know, not too bad. That fairy typing is very useful for that scenario. Anyway, that is it for the damage calcs. Let's go ahead and talk about Single Spotlight real quick before I end the video. There's not much to say. It's very, very similar. The same thing. We're still max speed and max special attack, Timid Nature, Choice Scarf, Psychic Surge, Psyshock, Moonblast, Focus Blast, Psychic. I went for a little bit different here. You know, we didn't need the Dazzling Gleam, obviously, because it does nothing. It does not provide any additional usage here in Tapu Lele. We do have Moonblast. We did give the Psyshock instead, and Focus Blast doing a lot of damage here with fighting and hitting those darks for super effective, which is really good. But no, you also have Thunderbolt as a good option. There's a couple of other options here as well, but not too many. You know, a lot of those other moves that we were using aren't too useful in singles, but still not bad. Anyway, that is about it for the video today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In sum up, I think Tapu Lele is definitely a cool way to use a Hyper Offense Shadow Rider Calyrex team. That's probably the most used place for a Tapu Lele in this format. But, you know, these videos are timeless. Tapu Lele will have a different, you know, day one day, and it'll be cool. Anyway, that's it for the video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Makes a huge difference. It really does. You know, only like 25% of people are subscribed. I made that number up, but I think it's pretty close to accurate. Goodbye. Have a good... Oh, I just noticed I said 25% of people are subscribed. That's not accurate. 25% of viewers are subscribed. That's much more accurate. I think the number's way lower. Anyway, I'm rambling. Have a good week. Goodbye.